For the past few weeks, here at the Dollar Yo channel, we've been discussing fantasy football and sports prop picks for the upcoming 2026 season. And much like Kyle Shanahan did in 2015, when he made a PowerPoint presentation to resign from the Cleveland Browns, we put together sleeper picks for fantasy football, players you should avoid in fantasy football, and player prop picks for the 2026 season, and today is no exception. We've made a PowerPoint presentation about teams over and under wins for this upcoming 2026 season. Now, I'm rocking solo in today's video, but that doesn't mean we're gonna not have fun. So make sure you like the video, subscribe, and comment down below if you agree with our picks. Let's get to them. Okay, so if you watched last week's video, this pick seems a little too familiar. It's Browns over 5.5 wins. A $100 bet on DraftKings wins you $180. And the reason for this bet, well, it's because Jimmy Haslam said so. But before I get into that, the Cleveland Browns just announced that Deshaun Watson is their starter week 1.
Oh, brother,
now, does that change how we think the Browns will go this season? I don't think so. I think 5.5 wins is still possible. They have a lot of young talent. Now let's take a look at what Jimmy Haslam had to say. Quote, I would say this, and we never do this, but I think odds are for us to win 5.5 games. Close quote. Haslam said during his annual training camp press conference, quote, I'll take the over, close quote. And that was with Mary Kay Cabot at Cleveland.com. And as I mentioned prior, they have a lot of new and young offensive talents. The two stars in training camp seem to be Denzel Boston and Casey Conception, whom they've drafted with their top picks in the draft. They also have a new coach with Todd Monken. So, again, there's a lot of optimism going on despite Deshaun Watson starting week 1 instead of Shedeur Sanders. We could quickly look at the Browns schedule too to try to cherry pick some wins. They play the Jets week 5, Titans week 7, Saints week 9, Raiders week 12, Falcons, they face their former head coach week 14, the Colts week 17, and they usually can split a series between the Bengals in week 13 or 18 respectively. So we're taking the Browns over 5.5 wins. And speaking of the Falcons, hey, look at that. It's Kevin Stefanski, head coach of the Falcons. And we talked about this pick again last week, so we'll just briefly discuss it. And seeing Kevin Stefanski in red and black, I gotta be honest, usually we did criticize him a lot in prior videos. I think he does look good in red and black. If you see a coach or a player in a different uniform that you're not used to, sometimes you think to yourself, oh, he doesn't look good or whatever. I think it looks fine on him. I think the colors look fine on him. It's not like Jim Thome in a Baltimore Orioles jersey, for those of you who are Cleveland fans or just baseball fans in general. But with that aside, this is a $100 bet that would win $171.43 on DraftKings. And the big question mark is quarterbacks, especially now. Since recording, the UDFA is getting reps with the 2s and possibly 1s in training camp. So they might have a undrafted free agent be the starter week 1. And we talk about the toss-up division, and he plays Baker Mayfield twice now. Every season he's going to be playing him twice now. And Baker likes to play with fire underneath him, so it's going to be a good game. And then lastly, Falcons defense has open vacancies. They've lost a lot of players, and overall, it's just going to be a very long season for them. We're taking the under 7.5 wins. Hey, there's a familiar face. Speaking of new uniforms and looking good, Myles Garrett wears the white and blue and gold pretty good. Again, we've talked about Jim Thome in a Baltimore Orioles jersey. I would compare this to Andrew Miller in a Cleveland Indians jersey. He went from the Yankees to the Indians, grew the beard out and everything. I digress. But we're taking the Rams over 11.5 wins. $100 bet wins 180 on DraftKings. And why? Well, this year they're the projected favorite to win the Super Bowl. The odds for that are plus 550. And if they're the projected favorites to win the Super Bowl, it only makes sense for them to think that they could win 12 games in a 17-game season. But aside from that, the defense improvements they made is incredible in this offseason. First things first, obviously, they traded for Myles Garrett. And this trade consisted of trading Jared Verse, a 2-time Pro Bowler they drafted, a first-round pick in 2027, a second-round pick in 2028, and a third-round pick in 2029, which would become a first-round pick if they traded to an AFC North team. Big brains over there in the GM department for the Browns. But aside from that, they also traded for Trent McDuffie. They received him from the Chiefs. They've also made some offensive moves in the drafts. They drafted Ty Simpson with the 13th pick. Kind of a controversial one, but again, it's high capital that they're trying to invest not only just for their offense, but the future. They drafted a tight end with their 61th overall pick, and they also drafted a tackle from Missouri. So overall, this team, they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. They improved their defense, which, of course, everybody knows wins championships. And it's built for the Super Bowl. We're taking over 11.5 wins. And remember, guys, we really appreciate you watching this video. Please give us a thumbs up, like the video, comment down below if you think these picks are good or bad, and subscribe. We try to post videos every Wednesday and Friday, and we do appreciate all the support. So let's get to our next pick. It's going to be Bengals over 9.5 wins. $100 bet wins $162.50 on DraftKings, and the main reason for this is they have the second or the third ranked easiest schedule of the 2026 season. They play teams like the Dolphins, Titans, Browns twice, Commanders, and Falcons. And the main silver lining to this pick is they need a healthy Joe Burrow. He missed the majority of last season due to injury, and if he can stay healthy, who knows what the Bengals can do. And speaking of Joes on the Bengals, they also have Joe Flacco, and anything's possible with Joe Flacco. But aside from the Joes on the Bengals, their defense, like the Rams, got to step up. They traded their 10th pick in the NFL draft for Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. They acquired Jonathan Allen via free agency, and they drafted Cassius Howell from Texas A&M with their number 41 overall pick. So again, they really acquired all three major ways to acquire talent they implemented in the draft this season. High capital trades, high capital drafts, and free agency. Over 9.5 wins, that's the proper taken for the Bengals. And the way to the Dallas Cowboys over 8.5 wins. $100 wins $158.82. And the reason? I sound like a broken record, but revamped defense. And they're competing for the division this year. Going to their defense, they have a new defensive coordinator, Christian Parker, who came from the Eagles. They drafted Caleb Downs with their 11th pick, and then they drafted Malachi Lawrence with their 23rd pick. So that's two high capital draft picks that they've chose for their defense. And when we say compete for the division, well, let's take a look at their division opponents. Last year, the Eagles were 11-6, and then the other two opponents, the Commanders, 5-12, the Giants, 4-13. And the Giants and Commanders, they seem to be in that lame duck period where they might still have the same win-loss record coming into this season. So the Cowboys have a shot to win the division. We know what their offense can do. They still have that same talent with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens. They just need to have their defense step up, and they've made the moves to do it. So over 8.5 wins, that's the proper taken for the Cowboys. Alrighty, now let's talk about an under. It's Dolphins under 4.5 wins. $100 bet wins $164.10 on DraftKings, and reasons for this bet: rank second in hardest schedule this season. They play the Patriots and Buffalo Bills, obviously, but they also play the 49ers, Detroit, Denver, and Los Angeles Chargers. So there's some tough teams. They're in a tough division, just period. And they do play the Jets, because they're in a division twice a year. But I guarantee if you ask a Jets fan, hey, how many games do you think you'll win this season? They'll point on the schedule and say, oh, we'll beat the Dolphins twice. So you can't always say when you see a team weak like the Jets and you're a weak team, oh, we'll beat them. Because I'm sure the Jets think the Dolphins is an easy W. But they also lost a lot of offensive weapons. We talked about this in prior videos. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, gone. And now the quarterback room, just a big question mark overall. They signed Malik Willis, via free agency. He was on the Packers, the Titans before that, and yeah, he played pretty good in those games with the Packers. But is that something that he can do long term? Remains to be seen. But under 4.5 wins for the Dolphins. That's the pick we're taking. All right, and yeah, motel vacancies. That's what we're talking about. The Dolphins, just a lot of open gaps. Hey, they have vacancies in case you want to maybe rent a room. All right, the Saints over 7.5 wins. This is our last pick, and it's only fitting because we've talked about them in every single video. $100 bet wins 183 and 33 cents. The reason for this bet: the NFC South ? They play the Buccaneers, they play the Panthers, they play the Falcons. We've already picked under for Falcons. So if the Saints can beat the Falcons twice, it's kind of a double dip because the win total for the Saints go up and the loss total for the Falcons go down. Kind of moving scales of justice. Hopefully that can happen. The Panthers, they play, again, big question mark with them. They were kind of decent last season, mediocre. It's Bryce Young's year to step it up. So we'll see if that happens. But I want to talk about Tampa Bay real quick because they had the opportunity to lock up Baker Mayfield long term, and they didn't do that. So what do the Buccaneers know about Baker that we don't? They don't view him as a franchise quarterback, despite him taking the Buccaneers to the playoffs several times. I don't know. But what I do know is the Saints have made offensive improvements this past year. For starters, they acquired the new running back from the Jaguars, Travis, and they also drafted David Edwards, signed David Edwards from the Bills. And then out of the draft this season, they drafted 8 players. 5 of them were on the offense. Jordan Tyson with their first round pick. He's hurt. He's going to miss a couple of months. But still, they drafted 3 receivers that draft. And Bryce Lance was in the 4th round. Barian Brown was in the 6th. So young players like him are going to need to step up when Jordan Tyson is injured. And again, with Tyson missing the first couple of months of the season, that's not too big of a deal because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Just ask Rocky from SpongeBob about that race. I mean, he ended up victorious. And that is it. Those are our 7 picks for this upcoming 2026 season for over and under wins. Thank you so much again for watching the video and staying this long. Please give a thumbs up. Again, comment down below if you think we're right or if we're crazy. But we're on all social media platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and X. We will see you in the next video.